Okay, welcome to Sussex World for an Ashes special podcast. It was a remarkable day at Lord's as Australia took a highly controversial 2-0 lead in the series. Boos and jeers were ringing around the famous old ground yesterday after a breathtaking test match. Australia finally got over the line and won by 43 runs, but it was the manner of the victory that had plenty of fans, the media, and also the MCC members upset. There's plenty to unpick, so where shall we start, Mark Dunford? I guess the Johnny Bairstow incident is as good a place to start as any.
It is, yeah. You say highly controversial. Honestly, people have lost their minds in this particular test. Alex Carey did nothing wrong, and in my opinion, Alex Carey should have won man of the match yesterday for that dismissal and the Ben Duckett dismissal when he stood down leg side, because he wouldn't have caught it if he stood in a normal place. But the ball wasn't dead. Bairstow is at fault, and I just don't understand why everybody got so upset about it, especially those MCC members. But it was you could see it coming because, as they said afterwards, they saw Bairstow doing it for the previous 3 or 4 balls. He was marking his crease and then walking out very quickly, thinking the ball was dead. And when you watch the replay back, Carey, the ball lands in his gloves and he throws it instantly. It's not like he waited and then saw Bairstow go out and then threw it. He just threw it on the off chance, Bairstow's probably going to walk out quick. And he's out. And people are talking about the spirit of cricket. I know Ben Stokes has said he wouldn't have done that. Really? It's an Ashes series. It's an Ashes test. If Steve Smith was there 150 not out and they saw him doing that and they thought, actually, we've got an opportunity here, he would have done it. I mean, I'm not going to criticise Ben Stokes. He played arguably one of the best test innings ever and could have been the best test innings ever. But I can't believe, because there was nothing wrong. We talk about the spirit of cricket. Ollie Robinson, I know we're going to talk about him a bit more later, but everybody was sort of saying, oh, it's Ashes cricket, when he was swearing at Usman Khawaja. So why? But everybody was defending him. Nobody was talking about the spirit of cricket there. Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with it. I know
you're an umpire, Mark. Should Bairstow have got a warning before sort of this, or should it? Were Australia perfectly within their rights to do what they did by the laws of the game?
I think they were perfectly well within their rights. I mean, there are people that would say, because it's not down to the umpires, I don't think, to say, "Oh, you watch yourself there." I mean, in Colts cricket, I would do that. I would just say to a young player who's just learning the game, watch yourself there. Especially when you talk about man-cadding as well, you just say, watch yourself there, because if he runs you out, you're out, and I can't do anything about it. I mean, the Australians, they're quite smart cricketers. They're the best test team in the world. They're not going to say to Johnny Bairstow, "Oh, watch yourself there, mate. You keep leaving the crease too early." I mean, Labuschagne, he could have said something. He was there all the time, but he didn't. And why would he? Because they got an opportunity. If Bairstow's in for 10, 15 overs, England probably win that match. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But, yeah, no, I just don't think they did anything wrong.
No. Steve, what were your thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, I just want to ask a sort of follow-up question of Mark then. In that case, I hear what you're saying. You know they didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't against the laws nor the spirit of cricket. If it wasn't against this, I think most people agree that it wasn't against the laws of cricket. You know, within the laws, he was out. If it was within the spirit of cricket, how come the whole ground and quite a lot of media people and ex-players were critical of Australia? Does it suggest that there's a lot of people that don't understand the laws of cricket and the spirit of cricket and don't really know what should be allowed and what shouldn't? Or are there too many grey areas?
I think there are a lot of grey areas. I mean, we can talk about the Mitchell Starc catch. There's not a grey area at all, but Steve Smith's catch, I think there's grey areas within the catching law, I think. But with that, I don't think, with the run out, I don't think there was any grey areas. I mean, yeah, the laws of cricket, if you ever read them, I've got I think I've got it here. Tom Smith's cricket, which is like the Bible of the laws. It's that thick. And it's it takes some reading, and it's like football refereeing and VAR. It's down to the interpretation of the umpire, a lot of it. But I mean, regarding the booing, I think a lot of it is down to the majority of the crowd was English, and most of the pundits who were complaining were English. So I think you can put it down to that. I mean, Andrew Strauss said it's not your normal Lord's crowd who was in today, didn't he, or something like that, which was a very odd thing to say given the report that came out last week. But anyway, I just think, and there are some people who don't know the laws and who think they do. I mean, we'll talk about Mitchell Stark in a minute, but Glenn McGrath was an absolute disgrace on BBC Test Match Special. But I just think that it was because they were predominantly an English crowd and predominantly English pundits and that. I think it's just a way to stir it up, and it made it interesting. I'll give it that, and it added a real atmosphere to it. And if England had gone on to win, it would have just been amazing. And but I mean, I felt a little bit sorry for Pat Cummings yesterday when he was doing his post-match stuff. People would. I mean, Jonathan Agnew asked him. Ben Stokes said he wouldn't have done the same, and Pat Cummings just went, "Okay, fine." It's just like
difficult question to answer, isn't it?
It's a difficult question to answer, but it's I don't know. I just think it's a predominantly English crowd, and a lot of them probably didn't know the laws. I mean, the MCC members, they should know the laws. They've been right it. But I don't know if becoming an umpire, because I've been an umpire since 2016, it's just taken my whole emotion out of cricket, because I'll sit there and I'll watch what the umpires are doing in a test match, and I'll soon as the ball hit the stumps, I said, "That's out, fair play, well done, Alex Carey," kind of thing. And then I was just blown away by the reaction to it all. Yeah.
So 3 MCC members were suspended. There's some quite unique footage on social media. I've never seen it before. Were the Australians, are they really going to care about all these booings and things? They're 2-0 up in the series, aren't they? Is it going to affect them?
I'll let Frankie answer that one.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, if it plays into the Australians' hands, really, I think this is what they're looking for. They're looking for a reaction. They're looking for the emotion to get the better of England. I think the one thing I'd noticed from the first 2 tests, although it's been very exciting, 2 very, very exciting test matches with lots going on, lots of drama, which is why we love Ashes cricket. I think the emotions got the better of England at times. I think they've been caught up too much in the sledging and the speaking in the media and the Bairstow dismissal yesterday. I think they're letting that sort of cloud their judgment in key moments, because they're very, very close test matches and they've decided on very small margins, and currently Australia are winning those margins every time, and I think it's because whether it's playing under Bazball, whether it's playing at home, the desire to win the Ashes series and win and regain the urn, I think it spilled over a little bit too much. And like I said, Mark said, they didn't do anything wrong yesterday. I also think the reason they did it was because you got to look at the person they were dismissing. In England's big run chases in the last year and a half, Johnny Bairstow has been a key player in those against New Zealand and against Pakistan. He's with Ben Stokes at the crease. As Mark said, if they're staying in, they probably win that match. Would, and so I think if it was Ollie Robinson, Stuart Broad or James Anderson, they wouldn't. I don't think Alex Carey throws the ball at the stumps. But given the manner of the game, where the game was set and who was at the crease, like Mark said, if that was Steve Smith or Labuschagne on the other way, Ben Stokes would 100% be doing the same thing, asking Johnny Bairstow to throw the ball at the stumps. So I think the reaction from the members of that, I think the Australian players walking through the long room, going back for lunch, I think they go into that dressing room going like, we've got them here. Like they don't go and go, oh God, I'm not sure about that. They're going, yes, this is exactly what we're after. England to get too riled up, England to get too emotional, and we capitalise. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. It did seem to inspire Stokes. His innings was remarkable, but he just couldn't quite repeat the heroics of Headingley 2019, Steve.
No, he just needed to stay in. Even if he'd been in 20 minutes longer, he probably would have got England there, wouldn't he? And if he guided England to victory, we probably wouldn't even be talking about the Bairstow dismissal now, would we? We'd be forgotten. Stokes has got form for this sort of thing. We all remember Headingley 2019. He's just an incredible cricketer who does seem to revel in impossible situations. You almost expect more from him when the chips are down, when the odds are really against him, which is great. Good thing to have in a captain. There'll be people that say, we need him to score big innings a little bit more regularly, and maybe at times when England are on top. For example, in the England Fest innings, if he in the middle order had stayed in a bit longer and had helped England build a lead in the Fest innings, would have been a very different game. But you just have to stand back and applaud it and marvel at it. I think really what he did yesterday, hitting sixes for fun, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Just a shame he got out when he did, and he got out going for another big hit, which was always likely in that sort of innings. But,
it's amazing. What impressed me is, and I think a couple of the pundits remarked on it, is that the way he changes gears, but he doesn't just go for it. He'll calm down again and he'll play the singles and that. And then it'll be an over where he does go for it. Yeah. He's able to change the gears up and down once he has decided to go for it. Whereas you see other people like Johnny Bairstow in it when he just every ball was 6 last year when he hit it. He didn't at no point did he think, right, I'm just going to play this over calmly kind of thing. Whereas Stokes can do that. And I mean, if he'd got England home, it would have been the greatest test innings I've ever seen. It would have just, and I mean, it's still up there, but he didn't quite eclipse his Headingley effort, which was just still my favourite test innings of all time. So
yeah. But as Frankie said, it's very emotional. England probably got caught up a bit too much in that. But tactically, where did they get it wrong, Mark? There was a spell where the Australians were peppering in the short deliveries. I think it's on day 3 where they lost 4 wickets in an hour. That seemed like a crucial period of the test. Yeah,
it was. The Australians obviously just decided to go bouncer, and we just didn't seem to know how to play it. I know you go into nets, you probably don't expect nobody bowls you bouncer after bouncer in the nets. But I'm sure you get them in that, and it's just learning how to play them, and you play each one on its merit. I mean, the Lord's pitch was quite dead at times, and sometimes it didn't get above sort of between waist and shoulder height, and that's just an easy pull. Keep it down for one sort of thing. I mean, you've got to play like Joe Root getting caught out by Steve Smith, whatever you think of that catch. It was just disappointing to see how they did. I thought Ben Duckett was playing it really well, but then he just got that one that's top edge. But I heard something interesting yesterday. Somebody said they spoke to Ben Duckett, and he said because he's been playing county championship for so many years, all he's used to is 80-mile-an-hour bounces. He's not used to 90-mile-an-hour bounces, and it takes some getting used to. And I can imagine it does. But for someone like Joe, you had Joe Root who got out to it. Harry Brook, he's a new person into it. But it was just, we just didn't. And then the Australians did the same in the second innings. They didn't seem to know how to play the short ball when England bowled 98% short balls in that morning and afternoon session. It was just, what were they expecting? With a short ball, you just play each ball on its merit like you should when people are bowling normally. But they just seem to get caught up in it and think, we can pull everything Bazball. And I don't know, it's just, it just needed a calm head to do it. And actually, Ben Stokes on that further, he was one of the calmer ones. But then he got an absolute jaffer from Mitchell Stark in the morning of the 4th day. Or was it? I can't remember what days it was. But I think that's probably where England lost it, because they should have got a first innings lead. And obviously the bowling on the first day wasn't good enough. They didn't take advantage of the conditions. So I think it was bowling on the first day and that particular hour when they just couldn't play the short ball. I think that's what the issue.
Yeah. There was a bit of criticism of James Anderson on the first day, Frankie. What did you make of his bowling performance?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but his performance in the first 2 tests, he looks like a 40-year-old playing in elite cricket. Unfortunately, I never thought I'd say that about Anderson. He's always been one of England's best players. He's always looked incredibly sharp, and his skill set has always been immaculate. But he's looked old. I've had to say that he's dropped a couple of catches. He's looked quite lethargic in the field. His bowling's not been up to the incredibly high standards we've set of him. He is obviously England's best ever Test bowler. But I don't think England, as Mark alluded to just then, the first day we've associated Bazball with being aggressive, attacking, positive cricket. On the first day of this test, I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. They were late coming out of the changing room. They were lethargic in their bowling. They weren't attacking Australia with any threat. It was very easy for them to sort of build up a score, and what, as Mark said, was very, very suitable conditions for bowling. And it gave Australia a chance to get away from them, which shouldn't have been the case. I think there has to be some sort of changes. I'd like to see someone like Mark Wood play in the third test. I think they need a bit more pace. They seem to be struggling to really attack Australia with any sort of real genuine pace at the moment. I feel that the fact that Ben Stokes can't bowl as much is also affecting their attack. He's obviously been pivotal to many test series before. The Ashes last time in England at Headingley, he was obviously known for that amazing 150 that he won the game, but his bowling, that 12 over spell of bowling he did in the Australian second innings, helped restrict the score to 350 odd, which got England home. So yeah, I think as Mark alluded to, I think there seems to be quite a bit of naivety with this England team at the moment. I feel the way they played the short ball, it's a young team, so that's obviously why that's the case. But I feel calmer heads need to prevail coming into the third test, because we know that Ben Stokes loves a challenge. We know he loves when the chips down, this is when he performs best. The chips have never been more down than being 2-0 down in Ashes series and having to win all 3 games. I'm sure he's reveling in that fact, and he's enjoying the challenge of facing such a massive comeback to win the series. But they need to play a bit smarter, because this is the best team they've played under the McCullum-Stokes era. This Australia team is a great team. It's an exceptional team. There's a lot of experienced players in that side that are just being smart in England at the moment, whether it be just winning those key moments like an hour on the day 3 that stopped England from building a lead, or whether it be being able to deal with the pressure of day 5 and be smart with taking wickets like the Bairstow wicket. They're just seeming to nab England on those moments. And if England can just be a bit more calmer and more controlled, alongside being positive and being aggressive, then they have a small chance. But at the moment, it's those silly mistakes that are costing them.
Yeah. Steve, sorry, Mark. Sorry.
No, go to Steve. That's fine.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. So you've followed Sussex cricket for a while now. Ollie Robinson, he played quite a key role in the Test series. What did you think of his performances? Is there more that he could have done, perhaps, in his spells of bowling?
I just do feel there is a bit more to come from him, or there needs to be a bit more to come from him. At the moment, all England's fast bowlers, they're bowling at about the same pace. Nobody's got that extra bit of edge. I'm with Frankie in that I would bring in Wood if he's 100% fit, and I don't know if he is. Maybe that's why we haven't seen him so far. But I would like to bring in Wood for Anderson.
He's got that extra pace, doesn't he?
I do think, just a little bit of extra pace, because I don't think there's anyone else in the England setup who you can bring in for that. We're not particularly well catered for in terms of extra fast bowlers at the moment. Obviously, Jofra Archer is a big miss. He'd be in that team if he was fit, but he's not fit, so we have to get on with that. Robinson, I think we need to keep Robinson in the team, but I do just feel we haven't quite seen the best of him. He's taken wickets and he's put Australia under pressure at times, but I just think there's a bit more to come from him, and maybe we'll see it. Maybe conditions haven't suited him quite yet. Maybe at Headingley or Old Trafford we'll see him come to the fore. Having followed Ollie Robinson at Sussex level before he got into the England team, he looked for a couple of years as though he was getting to that stage where he was going to become an England regular, and now he is an England regular. He's done very well, and he hasn't looked out of his depth. But at the same time, he hasn't gone on to be the England bowler that we all hope he could be and still can be. So you've got to keep faith with him.
And I think, but the problem with him is he's brought attention upon himself, hasn't he? And I think if he had just piped down a little bit and just got on with bowling, we wouldn't be maybe not facing so much criticism. But
the old cliche, let your bowling do the talking.
Exactly.
Rather than talking yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, sending someone off when they're got 100 and probably going to win Australia Test match, it just doesn't look good. Bowl someone out first ball, get Steve Smith out first ball, send him off. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it just looked a bit bad. But yeah, I mean, he is quality. He disappointed me with the bat as well, because he can bat.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. But I was going to say just before you went to Steve, Derren, that we've got to remember this Australia, like Frankie said, this Australian side are very, very good and are the best team in the world. So
Absolutely.
I think the expectation is very too high on England. And I mean, you look at their bowling attack. I think did I hear the other day? It's the first bowling attack to have all the main bowlers have taken more than 200 Test wickets each.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
It's an incredible bowling attack. And and we've just got England have just got to go back, not basics at all. We still keep the baseball, still keeps the aggressiveness, but just be a bit smarter with it. That's all they got to do.
Yeah.
And as Frankie said earlier, the emotion, got to take the emotion out of it. I mean, I hope the Bairstow incident does sort of galvanise the England team a bit more and maybe think right and get a bit more steel in them. But yeah, I think expectations are too high, and that Australian team are pretty darn good.
Yeah. Is there any chance at all? I don't think the team has ever come back from 2-0 down in the Ashes, have they, to win it? What do you think, Mark? What changes do you think they need to make, and can they? Is there a glimmer of hope? Because they're not that far away, are they? They're
not. No, we haven't been.
It's been really tight margins if you look at it overall.
Yeah, it's 2 games we could have won, and certainly Edgbaston we should have won. Lords, it would have been incredible if we'd won. But yeah, we're not far away. But I just think, just a bit smarter in those periods, that middle order. Like, I mean, Harry Brook, I love watching Harry Brook bat.
Yeah.
But that shot he played to get out in the first innings, you just like, really, is just so frustrating. And I know that's the way he plays, and it's been successful for him. But it's been successful against him in weaker attacks. Like I've just said, the bowling attack of the Australians is the best around at the moment. But changes in the team wise, I don't think there's too many changes, but it is the bowling. And like Frankie said, I hate saying it, but Jimmy Anderson, he just doesn't look on it. I mean, the fact he dropped 2 relatively simple catches in the field as well, I think that is possibly a reflection of how it's going for Jimmy Anderson at the moment. And it might be, whether it's to call it a day, I don't know. I don't want to be the person to say you've got to retire Jimmy Anderson, because he is an absolute legend. But yeah, if Mark Wood's fully fit, bring him in. Josh Tongue, we haven't mentioned Josh Tongue, been really impressive. He's been really impressive, and he is that little bit sharper. So if you can have Tongue, Wood, Broad, and Robinson all on their game, it's an impressive attack. And then it's just the spinner, whether we need that spinner. It's their specialist, but
it's a huge call, though, isn't it, to drop Anderson mid-Ashes?
Oh god, it'd be massive, and the Australians would pounce on that straight away. They and all the pundits would be doing that pro-Australian thing, saying, "Oh, England shown their weakness again," kind of thing. And it would be a massive call, but it would probably be the right call at this stage.
Yeah, so Frankie, so as Mark said, Australians' bowling attack is amazing, but they also have a batsman called Steve Smith, who's pretty, he gets amazing innings again yesterday. You spoke to him, didn't you, before his Sussex at Sussex? What was your,
I did.
What was your take on him when you actually got to speak to him, and what did you think of his innings at Lords?
It's funny because he sort of represents how Australia have taken on England in the first 2 tests. When the media spoke to him, obviously it was the English media. They were very excited by the fact that England were playing so well with this new style of cricket, and they asked him a lot of questions about whether Australia feared it or whether they were worried about it or how they were perceived baseball. And Steve Smith answered the questions as Australia played it so far, very calmly, didn't seem too affected by it. Obviously appreciated how well England had been playing, but said Australia were more than capable of dealing with it. And these first 2 tests, they have shown that. They've shown that, they've appreciated how well England have been playing. The Ben Stokes innings yesterday, saw all the Australian players coming up to congratulate him on what was a fantastic innings. But they also have shown that they're more than capable of dealing with it. I think Steve Smith showed in that first innings in the second test, he's still one of the best batsmen in the world. He's an incredibly classy player, still at the top of his game. And I think one of the key issues that England have had, which is also what was disappointing after Ben Stokes got out yesterday, was Australia's tail is batting very well as well. Obviously, Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon won the first test, but their ability to bat goes really, really deep, really, really deep. I mean, Cummins looks like one of Australia's best players with the bat at the moment, which is bizarre because he's also their best bowler. So it's quite a scary concept, but it doesn't feel that England can pick up. It's not like when the 6th wicket falls, they shoot them down and get the last 4 really quickly. It still feels they're having to bowl really, really intensely and smartly throughout the whole innings. Whereas yesterday, the minute Ben Stokes went out, you had a feeling that it was over. Yeah, and it was. I mean, the 8th and 9th wicket fell very, very quickly afterwards, and that's also a slight issue, which is something we'll have to address going forward. Is that not only have Australia got brilliant batsmen like Labuschagne, Smith, Warner has not quite got going yet, but Kawaj is in good nick. Travis Head as well. These are some of the best batsmen in cricket right now. But it seems that once they are dismissed, it doesn't seem to get any easier, and that's an issue because the minute the middle order or top batsmen fall for England, it feels that Broad, Anderson, Robinson, they're going very, very cheaply. And obviously that's it's not their job as bowlers to be to score runs, but Australia's bowlers are doing that, and England need to match that, I feel.
Nathan Lyons, he's been ruled out for the rest of the Ashes series for Australia. How does that shape things, Steve? Do you think that's England can capitalise on that?
Yeah, it's a big blow for them, and we don't yet know how they're going to replace him. Will they rely on what they've already got in the squad and in the team that they've been playing for spin options? Not sure. Will they bring in somebody else completely new? We don't know yet. I mean, they've shown. I suppose they've shown with their bowling in this test just finished that they can bowl England out without him. But there probably will be occasions where he's going to be missed more than that. And it's something England have to think about, and they have to think about how they can take advantage of that. I mean, it's ironic that England are without their number one spinner, and now Australia are as well. So it's who adapts best to that. Do you bring in someone who's maybe untried? It's a big ask to bring in somebody with little test experience into this series at all, let alone into the middle of it. So it's a difficult one. There have been some names thrown around by England, as I'm sure there will be by Australian fans, but it wouldn't surprise me if both sides carry on with the options that we've already seen, the sort of part-time spinners.
Yeah.
Joe Root, I think, will continue to be called upon for England. Travis Head, I'm sure, will be, likewise for Australia. But it's all.
And Labuschagne as well.
And Labuschagne, of course, yeah. Third test is upon us on Thursday, so it's almost like there's no time to think about it, really. Straight into the next one. Which is probably good from England's point of view. They'll be. I think you're
right. I think England would want to get back at it, wouldn't they? Yeah. Do you think that'll make a difference, Mark? Nathan Lyons? Do you think is that?
I think it will, but there's always an unknown quantity because there's that Todd Murphy, isn't there? Who's he was at Durham earlier in the season, and he went to India and he took 14 wickets, I think, in the 4 Test matches there, but. I mean, I think I could take 14 wickets in India on those spinnings. So it would be a big ask, like Steve says, for someone to come in the middle of the series, especially with England. If they sense a weakness, that's where Bazball comes good. And you've got Joe Root is a brilliant player of spin. I think, and Ben Duckett as well is a great player of spin. So it's we haven't talked about Ben Duckett enough. He was fantastic in this test match. But anyway, we're not talking about that. But yeah, so Todd Murphy could come in, and he's a like-for-like replacement. But it's whether, the Australians will. But the Australians are confident at the moment, and they probably think, just bring a spinner in. You've got Todd Murphy, did well in India. And I think he took some wickets for Durham earlier in the season as well. So he's just another one who came in and got a good bit of English experience. So that could be the one. And I just hope England, see that as a weakness and try and take advantage of that.
Yeah. So it starts again on Thursday. Should we do some predictions for the Thursday match? England won't want to go 3-0 down, will they? They're going to have to. And as we've said, they haven't been a million miles away. It's just been such, Australia have just been better in those key with the experience and, as Frankie said, the lack of emotion that Australia have showed. Are England going to get back into it, Frankie?
Well, it's obviously the cliche, but the toss will be crucial. I think Headingley day one, you normally wanted to have a bowl. I think England at the moment have not been bowling well enough in those first innings moments. So I think it will all be down to that first morning session. I think if Australia are put into bat and get away from England again or start well, then I can't really see England winning it. But we've seen in teams that have priorly played at Headingley, India. I remember, I think possibly 2 years ago. If you are put into bat and it all goes against you, obviously the Headingley crowd is a bit more raucous than the more calm older Lords crowd. If England can get that crowd behind them and take some quick wickets, then I think they can really steamroll Australia. However, if that doesn't happen, I think it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Australia would dig in, will they, Mark? Do you think, and make life difficult in the next test?
I think so. Yeah, I think the fact is England have to win, don't they, to keep the series alive? So I think England will win. I'm confident. I mean, the record, just going back to 2019 again, although Australia are on top for the majority of that game. Excuse me. I think England will pull on that memory like they almost did yesterday. So I think England have got to bounce back, and I think they will.
Steve?
Yeah, I still think the series might finish 2-2. I don't think we're going to come back and win 3-2. I think that's asking too much now, but I can still see us winning a couple of these because, as we've said, it's not been Australia haven't been winning comfortably. They've won 2 test matches that have been tight finishes, relatively tight finishes. So I think England will win at Headingley. That at least keeps things alive for the last 2. If they can make it 2-2 with 1 test to play, then that sets up the final test to be a cracker, doesn't it? But yeah, if England get put in at Headingley, they have to somehow score 400 on the first day, not declare before the end of the first day, in my opinion. I really think they should, and just put pressure on Australia from there. And they know, what's at stake at Headingley, so they'll be up for it.
Yeah. That is some big decisions to make in the meantime, but yeah, I'm sure everybody will be eagerly awaiting Thursday's first delivery of the day. So, but yeah, join us here on Sussex World for the next episode after what's sure to be a great Ashes series that starts again on Thursday. Thanks, guys.